white and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Carlisle United, the team that's on the ball. Carlisle United, the team for one and all. You're looking good and we're with you all the way. You'll hear us singing every time you play.
Being a Kenles and Neil with a pass so true. To ball the stone and Clark's in view. There's a cross and a run, the old 1-2 and a shot and a goal for United.
Hello everyone and welcome to this special episode of the Brunson Bugle. Now normally, these behind enemy line things, we just drop them into the main episode, don't we? Just have them as a little bit we add into the preview section of the show. But it's not any normal week, is it? We're going to Wembley. We're all going to Wembley. All making the journey down the M6, the M1. I don't know how you do it, to be honest. I'm going on this train. I don't really care. So yeah, what we're doing instead, we're going to have this as a little standalone episode where we have a chat with an opposition fan and find out how things are going for them. I mean, obviously going very well, like us, obviously. So this week we're speaking to Russ from the Scarf Bergara Wore podcast for I think the third time this season. So Russ, we only spoke maybe a month ago or so, didn't we? But it's been a bit of a roller coaster few weeks for both teams, hasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. We've gone from not quite reaching the automatics to ploughing our way, sort of stumbling our way through the playoffs. It has to be said, yeah, through Salford. So yeah, it's been interesting. Yeah,
Salford an interesting one, aren't they? Because they just sort of really found their form at the right time, and they look like the team that were going to be really difficult to stop for whoever. And you know, on the last day, they messed up against Gillingham, and if they'd got a result, we would have been down probably playing against you guys, or maybe playing against them. So it's kind of that last day of the season, I think worked out quite well for both teams in the end, really. And you know, when you look at the final, it's 4th versus 5th, isn't it? So it seems quite appropriate, doesn't it, in terms of the final setup?
Yeah, I think it's 4th versus 5th in League One as well. I'm not sure about the Championship. Yeah.
I think Borough were one of the top ones there, weren't they? So
they were. Yeah, they've missed out. Yeah. No, I think it's fair. From what I've seen this season as well, I'm surprised Mansfield didn't sneak in ahead of Salford. To be honest, I thought overall, from what I've seen, Mansfield have been the better team, but Salford snuck in, and we stumbled past them. We deserved the win in the end, I think, over the two legs. But there were times when we didn't play very well, and I'm just glad we beat them in the end, because at one point, with 8 minutes to go in extra time on the second leg, it didn't look like it. But I'm so glad we beat them, because they're just a club that we don't really have much time for, and that's putting it politely.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because you don't really sort of hate their fan base. It's just like they're just an annoyance, aren't they? It's like you've not built any sort of fan base up, despite the fact you've had this money put behind you, and you're actually quite a big city. You know, it is a city, isn't it, Salford? But you know, it just hasn't organically gained anything, has it? So it's kind of like, yeah, like you said, them missing out is not really a shame for anyone. And you're right about Mansfield. I mean, like, they battered us 4-0 at home this season, and they were 4-0 up at half time. They took the foot off the gas second half, and we were just shell shocked. And they were excellent that night, and I thought they could end up shooting right up into the top 3 potentially, because they had all those games in hand. But like I said, they just completely faltered towards the end of the season. So yeah, they missed out. Right, let's go back a few years. I want to give our fans who may not realise what's happened to Stockport over the last decade a very brief history lesson. We'll try and keep it brief, won't we? So you guys last got to Wembley back in 2008 when you beat Rochdale 3-2 in the League 2 playoff final to win promotion to League 1. But from that point onwards, it was pretty much a downhill for the next 9 seasons, wasn't it? You dropped down as far as National League North. And this is the bit that blew my mind when I was looking this up. You spent 6 seasons at that level. I thought it was maybe 2 or 3, but 6 seasons. I mean, oh, wow. I mean, like, in a moment, you can tell me some of the teams you play at the level, because I imagine it's quite terrifying when you think back about it. But obviously, since then, you've had a remarkable turnaround. You had a takeover of the club, and now you find yourselves on the verge of a potential return to the 3rd tier after 15 years. So give us a sort of very brief overview, if you kind of what went wrong back then and how the recovery and surge came about.
Oh, what went wrong? I mean, we've done a 13-hour Dark Days podcast series on it. Probably mentioned that before. If anyone wants to go and listen to that, feel free. Some of the stuff, I mean, we just mismanagement. We had owners in place that were just not with the best interests of the club at heart. We were overtaken by the fans group, which I was part of. You know, I've stood outside Edgley Park being called a trouble causer because I wanted the current owners out, that kind of thing. We took over as a fans organisation. That didn't go down. Well, it didn't work very well because, you know, who knows? Who knew fans can't really run businesses and run football clubs? Then we were nearly taken over by what can only be described as a Liverpudlian gangster. We sort of sidestepped that, and we had owners. The final ones before the good ones came in. We had these owners wanted us to replicate the Salisbury City model, which they were in National League South at the time, I think. So it was really bad. And what we did, we had to clear the decks. Fans groups got together. All our groups got together, clear the decks, and then luckily in 2015, 2 volunteers came back into the club, really got a grip of it, and helped us even further clear the decks. Got the club onto a sound footing in Division 6. We managed to get ourselves promotion out of Division 6 just through being a big club for that division, and we won it fair and square. And then that paved the way for our now owner Mark Stott to come in and really turbo boost it. So yeah, rubbish time. We played Vauxhall Motors and Colwyn Bay, FC United. Remember, did we get beat by Lancaster City once in a cup? I seem to remember.
Would you have played North Ferriby around about that time as well, I guess? Yeah,
well, it's interesting. North Ferriby had a bit of money behind them, so they beat us on the regular. I remember them beating us at home. Getting beat at home by Rushall Olympic in the FA Cup.
Yeah, that's a low, isn't it? Things like that. That's a moment where you're like, God, this isn't good. I remember we're in the National League. Well, what was the conference when we went down there playing away at Tamworth and we lost 1-0. Andy Priest used to play for you guys, so I imagine that.
Oh, he's a hero. He's a legend.
Yeah, he's quite a hero for us. Well, even though he had only just over a season with us, basically, but he was such a good, right at the end of his career, great guy. He got racially abused by the Tamworth fans and tried to get in the crowd to get one of them. We lost 1-0. Matt Redmile scored the winner for them. He was like the size of a pub bouncer. And it was kind of like at that point, you're like, how far can we actually drop from this? Thankfully, we sorted ourselves out and got out of it, but that's just the way it is, isn't it? So last season, you were promoted as champions at the National League. How good a feeling was it being an EFL club again? And how have you found the test at this level? Because you hear a lot of people say, there's not much difference between League Two and the National League. But I tend to find that fans of clubs, when they come up, get a bit of a surprise. Like, okay, this actually is a bit tougher than people make it out to be.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. We had the sections of our fans that said that, we'll double bounce and all that kind of thing. It's been really, really tough. The jump in standard has surprised us, and in League Two you don't get any fodder, whereas in the National League, probably the bottom, 6 teams, 7 teams, they're easily beatable. I would say if you're a professional football club, and you know what you're doing. So yeah, we found it difficult. We had new players as well, so they had to bed in. So it did take us a while, which is even more remarkable when you think where we finished in 4th place, that we had such a poor start. And there was a lot of games as well towards the end of the season where teams came and actively parked the bus. Bradford, Doncaster, Gillingham got away with quite rightly earned their point. But we could have easily have won them. I think we hit the post on occasion, and we had the lion's share of the possession. So, really tough. Step up has been a surprise, and then just getting those new players to bed in, who, they were definitely upgrades on what we had.
It does seem like you've enjoyed yourselves there, being back at this level, because we were talking about this, I think, on your pod with me, the fact that there's, after our game against you guys, the 2-2 draw the other week, I was seeing some posts from some of your fans saying, this is what we got back into the league, to be involved in games like this. Decent crowd, Tuesday night under the lights, proper good game of football, both sets of fans getting behind the team. That's what you want, and that's the feeling you've been missing, I suppose, for years, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I said it regularly on on our podcast, which we started in 2015. Ironically, the day after we got beat 6-1 by Wrexham in the FA Trophy. I don't know why we started a podcast the day after that. Must be mad. But yeah, I've been saying for years, I'd give my right arm to play Rochdale, to play Oldham, to play Carlisle. And now we're here. It was just such a great feeling to win the National League, and such a relief for me personally, it was more relief. And now we're in the Football League. I'm not saying I don't want to go up on Sunday, of course I do.
Yeah.
But there's definitely, with where we are and, we're back in the league, there's definitely a lot more fans that are more relaxed about it because we have got a good owner now. He wants to get us to the Championship. He wants to expand the ground. We've got plans. If we don't go up this season, we'll definitely invest in the squad and look to make top 3 next season. So, yeah, I want to go there and win on Sunday, but I think a bit like yourselves, it's not the be all and end all. It's not the end of the world if we don't.
Yeah, although I think there's always that lingering thing at the back of your mind, isn't it? That Wrexham are coming up this summer, aren't they? And you just know they're going to throw a shed load of money at it, aren't they, to get themselves out of this division in the first attempt. So that's always sort of lingering in the back of our minds. Your manager, Dave Challoner, obviously you took him from Hartlepool last season, I think it was. He's done a great job. To be fair, people can go on about the resources you have, but actually he seems to have done a really good job in terms of the players he's brought in and how he's used them. I'm guessing you guys are very happy with the job he's done, and even if you guys don't go up, he'll still be the man in charge next season?
Yeah, absolutely. Cock a hoot with what he's done, and people talk about the resources, but the team that he inherited, he didn't have to change it much to win the league. As soon as he came in, within 4 or 5 days of training, his first game was the Bolton game away in the FA Cup, and we drew that 2-2, whereas before that we'd lost to Barnet at home. So he's a really good manager. He's earned his stripes as well. He's won promotions at Fylde, at Colwyn Bay, Hartlepool, so he knows his stuff. And we certainly, I think, if we do charge on towards the Championship, which is the long-term plan, if he stays with us and he learns along the way, then I think he will. I think he could manage in the Championship, and then who knows from that point? You never know what happens from that point.
So, who are the players for us to watch in your squad? I mean, we were talking on yours, and I was saying that for me, when I look at your squad, Kyle Wootton feels a big miss for you guys because he was excellent against us at Edgeley Park, and you guys were saying, weren't you, how important he was to the way you play this season. But looking through it, Horsfall at the back seems a big one, and Collar in midfield as well, another one, and obviously for us, Paddy Madden's always lingering there and attacking in the back of our minds.
Yeah, you've named some good ones there. There's quite a lot, to be fair. I mean, we love them all, as probably you do with your squad that's got you to the playoff final. I've got to do a special mention for Ben Hinchliffe, our keeper. Ben, it's got to be pronounced correctly, Ben Hinchliffe. It's not Cliff, as the commentators say, which does annoy us all.
Former lorry driver, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to pick up on. So he was part-time when he came to us in National League North, lorry driver. I remember him, he couldn't play one Saturday because he was working. So, yeah, and
incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and we had to bring our subkeeper in. He's stepped up with us, and he's took a professional contract, and he's on the verge of being a League One player with us. And he's already a club legend. He's already kept the most clean sheets as a goalkeeper for us in our history. And he will go down in folklore. He's probably, people are now starting saying, is he our best player ever for what he's done for the club?
Wow, that's quite incredible, that.
Yeah, so he's 35, I think, 34, 35. So
I mean, the thing I noticed watching when I've seen your games on TV, and that he's got bloody big arms on him, doesn't he? You can tell he was a lorry driver, lugging things around and stuff, because he's a big, strong lad. So, it's probably you need to be a goalkeeper sometimes, I guess, but there you go. Talk about Wembley then, and sort of looking ahead to it. Before I ask you in terms of, what your fans are feeling right now about this game, have you got any positive memories of going to Wembley with Stockport in the past? Your podcast is named after a manager who got you success there, wasn't he, I think, if I remember rightly?
Yeah, so... No, he didn't get us a success there. No,
right,
so
okay. I thought he took you to Wembley.
He did take us to Wembley. So he took us to Wembley 4 times, but we lost all 4.
Right, sorry.
So yeah, but fun fact: he was the first foreign manager to ever lead an English domestic team out at Wembley.
Oh wow!
In 1993. So we lost.
Start,
yeah, so in League One or Tier 3, I guess it is. He led us to 2 playoff finals and 2 Football League trophy finals. We lost all 4, but yeah, he's a hero. Danny Bergara. We've just unveiled a statue at the back of the Cheadle end of him. So that's what our podcast is named after, and he will always be fondly remembered. And there's a stand after him as well, the Danny Bergara stand. So yeah, we lost 4 times. So, but that it just goes to show you've got what you've got to think is before that we were always at the bottom of Division 4 applying for re-election. So it was only in the late 80s when Denny Bergara came in that we started to actually win something. So we won promotion from Division 4 to Division 3, and then he took us to 4 Wembley finals, and we were like, who is this guy? do you know what I mean? So yeah, absolutely love him.
Yeah. Right. Before I ask you about the whole build-up into your fans, just a quick one in terms of the squads. First up, there's quite a few links in each squad, isn't there? I was just looking for this before. So for you guys, in terms of your squad, links to us, Paddy Madden in attack we mentioned already, Jack Stretton, who seems to be finding his feet, finding with you guys now since he's moved to you permanently. And on the bench, Clint Hill, your assistant, isn't he? He finished his playing career with us. Brilliant in his last season, was he? He was like a Rolls Royce of a player, just stroll through games. And obviously, there's a link in terms of our manager's son being your head of performance, Jake Simpson. That's an unusual one. And then obviously, on the Carlisle side, you've got Paul Simpson himself, your former manager, Paul Huntington, and of course, Christian Dennis, who, I remember we interviewed him, he told me he still lives about 800 yards from your ground, apparently.
Oh, right.
So it's an interesting one for him. He said he's very much looking forward to it. He's the kind of man who loves scoring against his former clubs. But there's a lot of links there, isn't there? Yeah,
and there is. There's a lot, and obviously I'm sure we'll come on Ben Barkley as well. But yeah, there's loads, and the Jake Simpson one's an interesting one as well because he actually played for us as well under Simpson. And I remember it. Everyone was going, "Oh, it's just nepotism," and I don't think it was. He's a really good player. He was full of running. Had a big engine on him. Probably not the best player in the world, but we were in a sticky situation at the time, and I still maintain. I said it on our, when I joined you last time. I still maintain if Simpson had been in charge for the full season, we wouldn't have got relegated from the Football League that season. But there you go. But yeah, loads of connections. I think Ben Barkley's probably the one of the biggest talking point, certainly from our perspective. We're so glad we signed the deal that he couldn't play against us now. Because I think when we let him go, because we let him go to Yeovil last season, there's definitely a feeling of, well, okay, I mean, no disrespect to Carlisle, we thought you were going to be bottom half.
I think a lot of people did, to be fair.
Yeah, so we didn't expect this, but we're glad that we have signed the deal so he can't play against us because he is a good player. And it's Peak County that we let players go on loan to other clubs and they end up coming and doing us over. Christian Dennis did that. We let him go to Macclesfield on loan, full season loan, even though he was our best striker because we were short on money, and he ended up scoring for them and taking them up that season. So yeah,
Sod's Law, stuff like that, isn't it? But yeah, with Ben's an interesting one, wasn't he? Because obviously we took him on loan, and then there was a kind of feeling like some of our fans scoffed, like, why are we taking a player on now from a club in our division? But I think a lot of our fans also took the view of, well, actually Stockport have got a lot of resources behind them. So actually, if he's surplus requirements, that doesn't mean he's a bad player. It might just be a case of they just want to shift a chunk of his wage off the bill at the very least so they can get someone else in. And there is kind of a feeling where our fans are like, blimey, they must have some good defenders at Stockport because he's done really well for us when he's been fit. That's the big issue. Had a great game in the semi-final, to be fair in him. Is there a little? I suppose there is a little bit of sadness there. I guess you guys probably not because you don't want him to spoil your day potentially. The fact that he can't play in this game.
I don't think so. No, it's gonna be a no. And I'll tell you the reason why it's a no. It's because we've never hardly seen him play for us. We signed him. He played a bit. And then I think he scored a goal. I thought he looked all right. He was in a defence at the time that was still trying to work itself out. We had Will Fish from Man United. I think he's playing for Hibs now, and it was all a bit clunky. So I felt sorry for him in that sort of situation. Then he went off to Yeovil. Now he's gone off to Carlisle. So there's really no sort of connection with him there. So yeah.
Yeah,
I kind of get a weird one.
I kind of get the feeling with him that he's probably going to end up joining us in the summer if whatever happens. To be honest, it's one of those ones where you guys will probably pay up a good chunk of his contract and we'll take him on from there. I guess that wouldn't surprise me whether you guys go up or we go up. I can't imagine you guys are going to have a place for him next season, to be honest. But that's just thinking ahead possibly on that one.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're spot on there. I mean, if we go up, there's definitely not a place for him. If we stay down, we've probably already got better in the squad. So. That's the reality of it. So just to finish up before we do predictions, how much excitement is there around Stockport for this game? Because we discussed on your pod the fact that
it's frustrating for both sets of fans, the kick-off time and the day, really being on Sunday and 1:30. It's a little bit easier for you guys because there are trains to go down, but by all accounts, they all were fully booked up in pretty much no time.
Yeah.
It's kind of thing like if this could have been last Saturday at 3:00 and our season had ended a bit earlier, it would have worked so much better for all sets of fans. But there must still be quite a level of excitement that you potentially got your first trip to Wembley in, 15 years?
Yeah, absolutely. Mega excitement. Everyone's just like, it's all over the socials. It's just, we were really, really enjoying ourselves on our own podcast this week, talking about it. Just loads of excitement. Our tickets didn't go on sale until, what are we on today? Thursday,
Tuesday, wasn't it? Yeah.
Tuesday, and I think we sold something like 10,000 in the first day or something. So yeah, real excitement. It has put a bit of a dampener on it, being, like you say, 1:30 on a Sunday. I mean, there is talk that a lot of the day trippers from the two Manchester clubs that would have maybe swelled it slightly.
Yeah.
They're not going to bother because they've got a Wembley trip the following weekend themselves. So, yeah, and then the trains, and we talked about the coaches on the podcast. Yeah, I mean, everybody knows you can't just pull coaches out of a garage.
Yeah.
They're all just sat there waiting for teams to play in a playoff final.
Yeah.
I think they're doing the best they can. The prices, again, not as bad as what I'm hearing from Carlisle in terms of £100, but 60 quid return, which I don't think that's bad. I think that's
a short notice. I think that's not too bad, to be fair.
Yeah, and you've got people working out how much profit coach companies are making on this. It's like, just leave it out. Come on. So yeah, no. All in all, real buzz, real excitement. Go around Stockport. You hardly ever see it unless something's big is happening at county, and there's county flags outside, flying out of windows and things. So really good to see. We're just glad we're back. And we're playing in these types of games, and it's so good to be playing Carlisle in a playoff final. Believe me,
it's the kind of feeling we've got as well. Because, like I said, from where we were 15 months ago to be where we are now, there's a buzz back, and the fact Simpson's tied down for 3 years, and I'm sure whatever happens in this summer, I won't be surprised if they look to extend that again to make it back to 3 years again, just to make sure he's tied down. But he seems very happy, so it's a great feeling around the club. Russ, thanks so much for your time. You've been very generous of it. Let's finish it up there. Let's have a prediction. I have a funny feeling I know what your prediction is going to be for this one, because anyone who doesn't predict their team to win in a playoff final has got something wrong with them. But go on.
Yeah, well, I'm going to predict that we win. I think, and I'll tell you why. I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win 2-1, and only because we've got players coming back. Wotton, I think, is the only sideline player. Yeah. Collar's back. Paddy Madden's back. Yeah. Sarcevic came on against Salford. As soon as he brought Collar and Sarcevic on, it was a completely different game, and Salford couldn't handle us. So, yeah, I'm going for 2-1 for those reasons.
Well, Russ, I hope you enjoy your weekend, except for the 90 minutes of football, or 120, or however long it is. But, I hope you enjoy your weekend, and whatever happens, all the best for next season, whichever division you may be in.
And you too, mate. Cheers.
Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back with another episode on Saturday morning where Dan, Lee and Mike will be previewing it's me. Dan, me and Mike are going to be, it's weird to talk myself in the third person there. Dan, Lee and I got it wrong now. Right. Dan, Mike and I will be previewing the big game. I'm so giddy and excited about it. So thanks everyone for listening, and up the Blues.